Welcome to the War Business Podcast, hosted by Matthew Bruneman, the author, Brendan Clark, your consigliere for all things war, and Dakota Maynard, the Appalachian war wizard. War is a business. Some would even call it a racket. Every modern war and every business has a carefully crafted marketing image. The War Business Podcast breaches that veil so you can hear the real stories of the average Americans who fight our wars and drive the war industry forward. Our mission is to tell the stories of conventional warriors. Let the captains of the war industry share their endeavors and inform the listeners of current global conflicts. All three hosts served in the United States Marine Corps and hold well-informed perspectives of war and war business. This concludes your introduction. Stand by for the episode. All right, everybody, welcome to this episode of the War Business Podcast. Today, you're stuck with me. You have Matthew Maynard, and we have John. We are going to look over some maps, so you're welcome. It's another map break. We're going to talk Iran, and you can't just stay inside Iran if you're going to talk about Iran and all the geopolitical events there. So we're going to start with Iran, start working our way around. You're in for a treat. Gentlemen, let's get going. Let's kick off. Do you want to kick off with the Qasem Island that we were just talking about?
Oh yeah, you want to go back into that one over here? So this is supposed to be, well, you got Kark. Oh, Qasem was this one over here, right?
Yeah.
So this shark looking one over on the coast. Well, that does look like a shark.
I know. Once you see it, you can't unsee it.
That's about how good my drawing looks. My kids tell me my drawings of dinosaurs look like dino nuggets. So that looks like a 100% shark that I drew. All right. So, Maynard, what's the significance of this island?
Well, it's in the Strait of Hormuz, and that is significant by itself. I think the United States may look at taking this island to keep the Strait of Hormuz open. The only reason why I think that is the desalination site on this island has apparently been hit. I don't know where it is, to be honest with you. I tried to look at some real-time satellite imagery, but I'm not paying that amount of money to do that. But to me, it would make sense. And I don't think any of the munitions from the United States are hitting anywhere on accident, or at least I don't know. Our munitions are pretty good, so it seems deliberate. Somebody has struck that desalination plant, and I think that's to put pressure on the population to leave. If we took that island, I think it would give us a better chance to keep the Strait of Hormuz open.
Let's take a look. I would have to guess Keshem here is going to be the main city of this over here.
Yes.
And so let's zoom in and check it out. You got a lot of major ports here. I don't know what a desalination plant would look like from the air.
I looked at this on Google Earth later. I think it's on the western part of the island, but I don't know. It looks like a lot of little pools, if I'm not mistaken. And so, like, when you zoom out and go to the western part of the island, you'll
Hmm.
see it. Or yeah,
Oh, like
zoom
this
in on
here?
those little green. Yeah, I think this is part of the desalinization process.
Yeah, interesting. I should look into that and see what it looks like. Well, that's a long way to move water if their population set is over on the other side. I guess you can pump
Or
it.
if they're doing it in small spots. I don't know. I mean, I
Yeah,
don't
they
think
got.
that's wastewater treatment. Just don't know.
No way. Not
I don't
wastewater
think,
treatment.
I don't think,
No,
looks
not
like a
that
little
far out.
volcano going on the island too. Iran does have some volcanoes, throughout the Middle East.
Yeah, that is some interesting
Have
terrain.
the classic super rugged Iranian terrain. But when you look at this island too, it's also strategic. When you go north of the island, if you zoom out a little bit more, and then let's go look at their main Navy base, or yeah, we can go take a look at the other island. I think we're going to take too, based off of what Trump has been saying. I don't remember the name of this island. Let's go look
So
at
is
the
it
one up. Yeah, let's go
this
look at
Northern
that
Ireland?
one.
All right.
Apparently,
Kark.
that is where 90% of oil business from Iran occurs. I would not want to live there right now.
Now, when you
No.
say take this island, are you thinking destroy the island or boots on the ground?
Boots on the ground, secure. Um, be tough to hold from
That's the only
shawheads,
thing
though.
I'm worried about right there is, that's you're a big target there if your boots on the ground there.
Yeah, and keeping it protected from shawheads, and it's almost like the scorched earth method. I think if the Iranians feel threatened that we're going to secure some of their infrastructure like that, I believe they would destroy it before they allowed us to use it. So it may be optimistic by President Trump to think that we're going to take it. I just don't think it'll be allowed. Back to the to Shark Island. What is it? Kasham? Am I saying it right? A lot of these names are super hard to pronounce.
Yeah, Kasham and Kark, it looks
Yeah,
like.
let me see if I can annotate on your screen here, and then I'll.
I'll zoom out to both so you can see
Oh
both.
shoot! Yeah, hold what you got right here.
All right.
Iran's main navy base is located right in here. This is where we've destroyed the majority of their ships as well. So if you zoom, are you able to see my annotate?
Yeah, yeah. Let me zoom in. I think it's Bandar Abbas. Might be it.
Yep.
Take a look
Yeah,
at their
there it
naval
is.
fort here.
Yeah, it's beefed up. Let's see
Yeah,
if we
yeah.
look at the same image. They had a lot of stuff in dry dock. I think this is the main submarine that we destroyed here when I was looking at it. I think it was in dry dock going under repairs right
Yeah.
there.
Yeah, these are
So
definitely
it's,
military craft. Oh yeah, you're right.
yeah.
Bad time for scheduled repairs.
Yeah, this is old though. The newest imagery, it looked like they tried to maybe beach it. I think they've tried to do that with a few of their craft, and then I think this one's gone. I think we saw videos of that one being hit. Looks like here's one of their frigates. That one might have been the one torpedoed, but majority of their larger vessels are gone.
Yeah.
And sunk right here too, but it's also a bit of a trap. I mean, you got a major choke point right here, so they got to get out. But what I'm thinking though is if we took Kashama Island, you kind of controlled the in and out of the Iranian Navy. And the Marines are supposed to be littoral now. And I think this is more of a Marine take and hold and then stop these Iranian. Oh God, they've got like 2,000 basically speedboats. I mean, it's kind of like what, like you do a bunch of cocaine in Miami and then you hop on a boat. It's like those kind of boats. And they just hit another tanker in the Strait of Hormuz with a suicide boat earlier today. So I imagine that taking that island would support what we're trying to do in the Strait of Hormuz.
Look, and this looks like a pretty industrial area up here.
It looks like it got blown up before. I've been looking at this and it's all dark and it's all
Oh,
scorched right here. I
bro,
don't
you
think
start you start looking at some places in the world in their industrial areas, and it's just like it's just blackened with soot. It's just not a fun
I
place to work.
and I think these were destroyed in the 12 Days War. Like these look like destroyed oil storage depots. I'm pretty sure this
I
is
don't
was
know.
targeted in the 12 Days War.
These look functional to me. I mean, I've looked at a lot of like Chinese steel production, and you just get some very similar looking things. I mean, it just these are dirty areas. I don't know if this is steel production or if it's all oil production. I don't think the Iranians really make a lot of steel. I'd have to look that up. I think this is all oil. I've
Middle
got
Eastern oil is so cheap too because they don't have to go through all the regulations of cleaning it and clean operations like in the United States where you have to flare your or HAPs, your hazardous air
Yeah.
pollutants. Um, Obviously in the Middle East they don't give a fuck. You can look at what do they call it? Is it the Conoco fields in Kurdistan? You don't have to look at it, but I'm just saying if you notice they're not flaring any type of an
no.
oil
You've got a
well.
lot of natural gas in Turkmenistan. I know that. That's let's see.
That's an
I,
interesting country too. But run whatever you want, John. I just wanted to point that out. I just think those are going to be some hot spots that'll be talked about pretty soon as this war evolves.
yeah, some of this I wish I had. I thought I had
So
some more
today,
oil
let's see,
stuff.
Sunday, March 8th, as we record, I think the United States is at a bit of an inflection point. Do we say, hey, we won and things are done, or are we going to continue? And if we continue, basically, I would my assessment is that means boots on the ground. So I think that's why we're gonna dive into this a little bit. Boots on the ground, very, very difficult because of the topography of Iran. So we're gonna dive into looking at the hellscape of Iran.
Yeah, I think if I had to start with anything, I would talk about the ethnicities of the region because I think that's pretty important. And it seems like something that people get a little bit confused. It's even, I've seen some talk about like, hey, we got to go after Iran because of 9/11. And it's like, well, it's really hard to connect the Shia to this in terms of, most of what we really have seen in the last 20 years has been a lot of Sunni violence. I think you look at a lot of like Al Qaeda is going to be Sunni backed versus Shia backed. And so let me bring up one of my maps for religion that I think will help kind of break it out.
Generally speaking, Sunnis are the ones going abroad to conduct their jihad, and yet the Shia Muslims typically staying local in whatever areas, they're terrorizing. But if you're going to kick the nose in of some Shias, it's going to be in their territory instead of Sunnis, coming to New York, that type of thing.
Yeah, I'm trying to find my world religions file here.
Well, you're looking for that. Just a question. Why is it that the groups do different things? Is it just different interpretations of Islam for their radical folks, or why is
Yeah.
it like that?
So let me tell you the story that at least that I've heard from a couple of books that I've been reading about, and it's for the history of Islam after the death of Muhammad. So you've got Muhammad, and really I'll kind of map out the early life of Muhammad is, you're starting here in Mecca, and he's a trader out of Mecca, and so he's going to be traveling the routes up into the Levant. He's going to be traveling a little bit down this way. I think maybe he's got some travels over here. But I think for the most part, we're looking at the Arabian Peninsula. And so he takes his big message is the monotheism. And so in Mecca at the time, you've got a whole lot of this is a major trade route. And so what do they got? They've got the Kaaba, which is that big cube. This is what they store religious artifacts in. So it's like you're a trader from Yemen or whatever Yemen would be called at the time. You worship whatever god, and it's like you're going to keep that god locked up in the Kaaba up in Mecca. You're going to go up and pay Mecca to hold a little religious celebration for you as you travel through. This is how Mecca makes their money. Well, Muhammad is another trader. He's going up and he's going to these things. This is where he has the revelation of there's only one God and you're the prophet. And he starts converting people. So the first one is his wife. She converts. And more, it's like he starts converting people through his trade routes that this isn't such a bad thing, that, hey, you need to have monotheism. Well, who gets pissed off at that? The head people of Mecca, who don't want there to be monotheism because they have this cube that makes all this money. And it's like, hey, we're going to do all these religious festivals for people. This is the Quraysh tribe. They turn against him. And what happens is Mecca goes to Medina. This is called the Hijra. This is where they flee up to Medina. They get out of Mecca because they're all getting threatened. And then you've got the Battle of the Camel. No, not the Battle of the Camels. The Battle of the Trenches that happens up here where Mecca goes up. They try to fight the Muslims. They end up kind of drawing on that battle, but I'd say lose because they're the big important guys. Anyway, this is all early life Muhammad stuff. Well, they win. They get back to Mecca. They start converting more and more people, and they start really spreading out. They start spreading out in these areas up here where he did a lot of trading. And then he dies, and it's all a big surprise for everybody because he says, I'm the last prophet. There's not going to be any prophets after me. But you still have to pass down the traditions of the religion somehow. And so they had to figure it out like, well, how do we pass down who is the authority for this religion? And they come up with the notion of the caliph, the head of the religion. He's going to be the one who guides people along. And so there's something called the Rashidun Caliphate. These are the first four caliphs, starting with Abu Bakr. And so he's elected by the Islamic community or the Ummah at the time. And that's kind of, for the most part, how most people think it should happen is like, hey, the Muslim community is going to select who the next caliph is going to be. And then when they're not any good anymore or they die, we'll find somebody else. And so you have a series of about four caliphs that do this. uh, with the fourth being Ali, which is the nephew or excuse me, the cousin of Muhammad, but he was really kind of raised like the son of Muhammad. They're cousins. Muhammad never had any sons of his own. A lot of people thought Ali should be the next one who was the the kind of the one to lead the path of the Muslim community. And so pretty early on, you've got this split between the two groups of like, well, do you just pick anybody to be the next caliph, or does this person have to have some sort of blood relation to Muhammad? And so this is the Sunni, which is the Sunnah, the community. That's why they're Sunnis, is like anybody can be a caliph theoretically, although they haven't agreed on one since like the 1230s. Anybody can be a caliph. It can come from any community. And it kind of makes sense that this is the one that's going to be your global majority of Islam. It's like if anybody can be the caliph, anybody can claim legitimacy to this religion, then it's going to appeal to a whole lot more people versus the Sunni or the Shia, which is Shiat Ali, the followers of Ali. It's like you've got to be from the bloodline of Ali to be something called an imam. There's a certain amount of imams that have, it's like this one's got the blood of Ali linked to Muhammad. And think of it much more, I would say, of like royal lineage in the Middle Ages. It's like it's a lot more like bloodlines type stuff. And so this is where it's very confusing to me because you would think to yourself, all right, well, who's going to tie themselves to the bloodline of Muhammad the most? It's well, most likely going to be the Arabs, right? You would think the Arabs are the closest lineage to Muhammad that there is, but the Arabs are not. They're Sunni. The biggest Shia population is going to be the Iranians. Uh, the vast
What
majority.
about Afghanistan? Just asking for.
Yeah, so it's funny. It's this actually goes back to the Safavid Empire. It's 1501. You've got Shah Ismail III takes over power in what would be modern day Iran, and he creates the Khwarezmian Empire. And the Khwarezmian Empire is a Persian empire, but he says, "Hey, to legitimize myself, I'm going to somehow find some relation to Muhammad to say that I'm a blood connection, and that makes us Shia. So we're going to turn this into a Shia country where you are legitimized in your authority by having some sort of blood relation to Muhammad or Ali." And so it's this convenient, like, hey, you'd see this all the time in like the Byzantine Empire too, where it'd be like somebody every couple of hundred years would be like, hey, I'm actually of the bloodline of this dead house that has authority to be the next king. You get that in Iran as well. You've got this group that says, okay, we're the Safavids. We're going to convert our own population, which are the Persians, to Shia Islam. This is when Iran becomes Shia Islam. And then what they do is they conquer all the way into a good part of Afghanistan as well. And they ruled for not a terribly long time in the grand scheme of things. I think a little over 100 years. Now, while they were in Afghanistan, they converted everybody over here to Shia. But when they left, everybody just went back to being Sunni. They said, screw this, we're going back to the way we were, except for the Hazara, which are in central Afghanistan. Now, the Hazara are ethnically linked to the invasion of Genghis Khan. Hazara literally translates to the thousands. It's talking about the thousands of children that the Khan had when he came down and invaded into Afghanistan. And so if you ever go into central Afghanistan, you get a very Asian looking person, very Eastern Asian looking person. They look a little more, I'd say, like Chinese, Korean,
Yeah.
in that versus your Pashtun don't necessarily look that way. Although there's enough of interbreeding that you'll have a bit of a mix. But you've got the Hazara that are in the middle here. They stay Shia. So you've got this one group in the middle here that stays Shia. And I find this to be so interesting historically because you have ethnically East Asian people living in central Afghanistan who now say that we link our lineage to the blood of Muhammad, which is an Arab trader from the 600s over here. And it's like the history is just a bizarre place sometimes.
Can I ask a question real quick?
Yeah.
The Ayatollah that we just killed, what significance did he have towards Islam? Is he somebody claiming like blood lineage to Muhammad or
Yeah, I believe if you look at a lot of them wear the black turbans, and the black turban is supposed to indicate lineage to Muhammad. And so I think they put a lot of stock into this. I still think it's funny because they're Persians. This is a very distinct from Arabs. You've got a lot of history out of the Persian empires and many different Persian empires. But yeah, they link it. So the Ayatollah. So okay, so I'll go back to the imams and I'll start with that. So each one of these guys who's in lineage of Ali is going to be an imam in their eyes. And so you've got it's kind of weird with Shia Islam is Iranians are considered 12er Shia Islam. And what does the 12er mean of it? Well, you've got 12 imams that have existed in the world, with the 12th being the Mahdi, who is this supposed to be like apocalyptic guy, where when he comes about, it's going to bring about great change in the end times. I think that's even where they get that name for Dune. Isn't what is his name? Paul, isn't he called the Mahdi in
I haven't watched
Dune?
it.
Oh, it's great. I mean, it's a great movie, but I think a lot of that ties in with this sort of symbolism. But yeah, you've got 12 imams that have existed. You've got a couple of other Shia out there who have different numbers. So it's like you've got Sixers out there, and it's like we have these six people who we claim our legitimacy to. And so the Shia world is a little bit divided in this sense, where it's like you've got, even people will say the Alawites in Syria, which are the coastal elites over in the western part of Syria, are Shia because they believe that lineage comes from Ali, but they believe a lot of other things that really kind of make them not Shia. And it's like there can be, again, you got 12ers here. I think you've got like Sixers are, I think, over here. You've got Shia in Yemen that have being supported by the Iranians, but they like claim a different lineage too as well. It's all very confusing, I think. But I would say it's like the difference, in my opinion, is the Shia tend to view there to be a little more like spiritual power in the bloodline of Muhammad, whereas I don't think you have that sort of like supernaturalism in Sunni Islam, if that makes any sense. Yeah, so this is kind of the Humpty Dumpty, the simplified Humpty Dumpty of Iran that I think is worth looking at. Is you do have surprisingly, I want to learn a bit more about this, but on the coastline of this Strait of Hormuz, you do have an Arab population that lives in this area. You've obviously got a very large Persian population that lives in these areas, but you've got like the Baluch over here, which the Baluch were not very friendly to us. I mean, these guys were essentially like Pashtuns in Afghanistan. They really supported a lot of the same Taliban groups over here in southern Afghanistan, and they've been fighting a war to separate themselves from Pakistan's for kind of a low grade insurgency for the last few decades. And so the Baluch or Sunni Islam, they're not going to want to join any sort of Iranian Persian group. You could see some breakaway here from the Arabs, although I don't really know how big of a population set that is.
When is this? I'm just curious if there's an Arab population because of the modern day oil business.
Could be
If this
that. I mean,
is,
there is just a lot of like intermixing between these areas. You got to think these were trade routes for the longest of times, and they still are in many ways heavy trade routes. You get some Silk Road stuff that goes all the way to China still. You get a lot of oil that moves through these areas. And so and then you've just got the remnants of a lot of different empires here. I mean, Iran in itself, I still don't really know where the Iran name comes from. I'm surprised they don't call themselves Persia. But
no, I was looking at it earlier. I was trying to do my homework for this episode, and just a lot of different empires, a lot of stuff
I
going
think
on.
that name means Aryan.
yeah, I think I've heard that as well. And it's funny too. I was thinking, so you've got all this like Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, Kyrgyzstan, Tajikistan, Afghanistan. You've got the long list of stands here. And I looked it up, and Stan is Persian. It's the Persian language for land of, except a lot of these folks speak Turkish up here, but kind of a blend of Turkish and Persian. But so you've got all these land of, Persian, land of. I'm surprised it's not either Iranistan or Persiastan. And then that's when I learned that Pakistan is an acronym. So they took the Punjab, Afghan, Kashmir into Sindh and said, this is the land of Muslims that we're going to make out of this. And the Afghans were like, hey, fuck you guys, join us. You need to carve off a big part of that. But that's a whole other talk there. But yeah, you get,
Absolutely.
so I'll go to the languages. You've got this is the Persian languages. So you got Kurdish, still kind of Persian language. You've got Pashto and Dari, which are offshoots of Persian. Dari meaning language of the court in Persian. So you've got a lot of this Persian influence that's in these areas. Man, I wish, let's see. There we go. That shouldn't be under American politics. All right, so here's the Sunni Shia majority here in these areas. And something that's worth discussing. I mean, you do have some Shia populations. They are spread out. I mean, it's not like you only find Shia in Iran, but like I talked about earlier, you've got the Hazara that are over here in central Afghanistan. You've got, I don't really know too much about the ones over here in Bahrain, to be honest. And you've got the Houthis that are down here that have been fighting an insurgency against the Saudi government for like 15 years. You've got over here, they're blue, but like I said, these are Alawites for the most part. So the Alawites, I wouldn't really consider that Shia. They're very different. They're kind of a blend almost of Christianity and Islam. But then you've also got this segment of blue down here in Lebanon. This is going to be Hezbollah. This is going to be an Iranian-backed military organization that I'm sure a lot of people have heard about. But if you ever hear about Hezbollah, this is what you're looking at over here. This is why Israel's been fighting Hezbollah, is they're an Iranian-backed organization. And it's why we've got a military base over here at Al Tanf, is because that connects this road, Iran over here, to their proxies over with Hezbollah, and we can interdict things over here. That's why also, if you ever wonder about that, I think there was a Georgia National Guard soldier who was killed at a Jordanian air base. Well, that was right here on the corner of El Tanf, and it was in supporting operations of El Tanf. Again, why do we have El Tanf? I wonder how many times I can say that. Is shoot, where is it?
You can probably see it even just without the map.
Yeah, no, that's what I'm doing. I'm taking the map off. It's pretty easy to see. It's you got to look at the little triangulation here of Syria, Jordan, and Iraq, and it's right there on the corner. And you can zoom in, and yep, here we go, right over here. You're looking at a major. This is going to be your border crossing operations, and then this is going to be support bases over here. Which, yeah, actually, the military base that I know of is this one up here. It's got all the classic signs of a military base. Vehicles all over the place. Look at that. You got the aerostat right here.
Yep, classic.
Yep.
Break, break, break. Time for a 5-minute gear check, boys. This would be a good time for you to like, share, and subscribe. It helps the channel grow, and we would really appreciate it. Don't forget that we want to interview veterans, so reach out to us if you want to have your service documented. Let other veterans know too. You guys can use the comment section, our socials, or the podcast email. Find us and follow us on X, Instagram, Facebook, and Substack. And go buy yourself a copy of War Business, The Hired Guns of Helmand Province. You can buy that on Amazon or through the Wargate store. If reading isn't your forte, then we've got you covered with the audiobook. Thank you for listening to this episode of the War Business Podcast, and we appreciate all of your support. Let's get you back to the episode.
But yeah, so why do we have these military outposts? Well, we want Al Tanf because we want to really cut off Iranian influence going into this area over here. So, but this is where I guess like I have a lot of people that I see that are like, screw the Iranians. They bombed us over in Beirut. That's right, in Beirut. And they the other thing I would say is that they really were waging quite a bit of an insurgency on us in Iraq. I think you really get a sensitive point with Iraq vets. I think more than Afghanistan vets when it comes to the Iranians, because they fought the Iranians. I mean, they were over in Baghdad fighting the Iranians. And so, go back. Let me bring up a couple maps. Yep, let that, there we go. All right, so back to the Sunni Shia. This is a big problem that occurred at the fall of the Ottoman Empire, which is the British came in and we drew these new maps. We carved up the Ottoman Empire. And what did we do? Well, we drew out a new Iraq. And how did we do it? It's like, well, you got a pretty good amount of these Sunni Muslims who live over here and then over in Anbar province. And then you got a whole bunch of Shia who live in this area. And it really comes out to about 60% Shia, 40% Sunni. Although that could even be as even as 45-55 in this split. And this new country, it's like, well, you got to form this new country. Well, who took over in the 70s? You've got Saddam Hussein takes over, and he is a Sunni. And what does he do? He treats the Shia like shit. He does not treat them very well. He's a minority leader, so he's got to use a lot of authority to retain his position, and even fights the Iranians for control. They have the Iran-Iraq war. And then we go in We have Iraq in 2003. We try to form a new government, and it's really kind of this awkward position that we're put in, I think, by 2005, which is you've got you've got the Bush administration, which says, hey, we liberated these people. We have to make it look like this is a victory here. How do we have a victory? We need to have a democratically elected government because that's what, the culmination of every government should be is a democratically elected government. The Shia said, hell yeah, we're in. We're 60% of the of the population. And the Sunni said, fuck you, we're out. We're boycotting this election. And so you get a large percentage of Sunnis who don't participate in the process. They start aligning themselves with Al Qaeda because this is a military way to back themselves. And the Shia go all in with the government. They're like, hell yeah, we're going to take these government positions. We're going to take police force jobs. We're going to take all these security jobs. And guess what we're going to start doing? We're going to start stacking these Sunnis over here. And so you
Can
start,
I ask a quick question?
yeah.
Is this why Imbrul, Iraq? Am I saying it right? I know it's in the northern part of Iraq. Is that why it's getting attacked so heavily right now? Is because of the Sunni population just so dense and they're pretty radical?
Yeah,
Because
I
Imbrul
don't.
is like right there somewhere.
Yeah, I wonder if it has to do with like maybe because you still have a large Kurdish population that's up in this area. So the Kurds are going to come from about this stretch, I would say right here,
Yeah.
even a little bit of like southern Azerbaijan. But no, I haven't seen any reports on that. I should probably dig more in. If we see any fighting, I would expect it to be much more in these Shia controlled areas to the south.
Has
Uh,
happened a little bit. Where is Baghdad on that map? Like if you zoom
yeah,
in,
let me
is
pull it up.
Baghdad basically
Yep, Baghdad's
right
right here.
right
And
in
so
the
it's right in the red, but it's really, I would say these red and blues overlap a whole lot here. And
yeah.
so you've got, and here's the tricky situation. Again, I never deployed to Iraq, but we thought we were going for a couple of years. We were building up to go to Baghdad. And so when I was combing through intelligence reports, when I was preparing for years to leave, it was always Baghdad, what we were looking at. And so, you look at Baghdad now and you look at Iraq in like 2005 timeframe, you now got a whole population set that's boycotted the elections. You've got the Shia who are getting into authority. Well, what do the Shia do? I think ultimately the Shia are backed by Iran because these are two of the same religious groups. They start getting a lot of funding from Iran, and Iran wants to be a regional power. I mean, it's just kind of one of those like, I get it if you're playing the game of Risk. If you're Iran, if I'm Iran, going back to those religion folders here, this makes sense for you to want to carve out this bit of influence if these people are more aligned with you than Iraq. It's like, hell yeah, if you could take control of Baghdad or you could take control of these southern oil fields, that greatly increases your influence as a Iranian government. And it makes sense. And so what do? They start flooding weapon systems, money, support into here. And then I think a lot of guys feel betrayed because here's what happened is you had all these Shia who won these electoral positions. You had like Muqtada al-Sadr, who was out of Sadr City. He's this prominent Shia cleric. I mean, he was in the government. This guy was involved in the government that we're trying to say is a legitimate government, but we also want to kill them because they're attacking us. And so, how do you get approval for that? Well, you got to get general level approval to go after Shia targets during these timeframes because they're all in the government. It's like it looks really bad if you've got to kill government officials in this government that you're saying is a legitimate, free and fair democratic government. But oops, sorry, we got to
Yeah.
kill this guy because he's running an IED cell. That's political egg on your face. That's messy.
This guy's got a Somali daycare inside of Baghdad.
Let's get it. Yeah,
Yeah, just to add to what you're saying about the Sunni and Shia, that particular region of Iraq, yeah, of course, Iran is going to want to spread its geopolitical dominance, but also there is the religious piece to it, just to unite, the Shias a little bit more.
sure, totally agree. I mean, the Shia, like I said, I think are only about at 10% of the entire Muslim population of the world. It's not a very big population set. It's largely in Iran. And I think it kind of makes sense again if you're looking at British lines that were drawn. That this was all drawn in the Sykes-Picot Agreement when we carved up the Middle East after the Ottoman Empire fell in World War One. You get a lot of problems that come from that. You get the Shia over here really getting all the military assets once the French left, and then using that to take over in Syria. You got a majority Sunni Arab population, but you've got these guys who controlled all the French military weapons after they left, and it's like, all right, well, why do these guys have power? I control the military here. These guys control a lot of military authority over here, and I don't know. I'm getting nervous about when I look at the population of Iran. I mean, they got people that were protesting for us and saying, "Hey, we're down. We're glad to see the Ayatollah go," which I do think they are. I think, for the most part, I think the Iranians didn't want the Ayatollah around. I just think we have to break this thing. I don't know if we can go in and make all the people happy that are cheering for us right now. I think it's going to get pretty messy.
Can we talk about the Kurds? And I think something that's coming is, and I have two different theories on what's going to happen, just based off of comments from Trump. I don't know if you have anything on Azerbaijan too. That's going to be an interesting piece of the war if it pops off or not.
Oh, Azerbaijan is interesting for sure. I mean, you look at this country over here. I think a lot of people should be familiar with this. So let's, look at the Caspian Sea is Russia's lake. You got to look at this. This is all bordered with Russia. They're going to control this largely with their military forces. And so if they want to bring supplies down to Iran, I think they could probably do it somewhat easily. But you look at Azerbaijan, this is an Islamic country. You would think next to Christian Armenia that they would be allied with somebody else, but they're pretty pro-Western. And why is that? You look at Baku, there's a lot of energy that comes out of this too. Baku sticks out like a thumb into the Caspian, and they produce like crazy. And, let me see if I can get some of these pipelines in.
I think in 2022, maybe late 2021, Azerbaijan went into Armenia again and killed like 100,000 Christians, something like that.
Yeah, so the thing to note about
TB2.
Azerbaijan, let me turn some of this stuff off here.
Yeah, Armenia
But
is interesting.
you've got, all right, this country here, this border right here is Azerbaijan. This country here is Armenia. Do you know what this country right here is? It's a trick
Armenia.
question. It's Azerbaijan. You've got Azerbaijan as a
That's
non-contiguous
right.
country.
That's
So
right.
this is Azerbaijan here. You've got Armenia going all the way down to Iran and cutting them off. And so you've got a little bit of Azerbaijan here and a little bit of Azerbaijan here. And that's a
Does
problem.
Google Earth have the dashed lines on it? I'm just curious. When it's contested and are scared to
It's
say, they'll put different.
This is officially recognized, but even and then you can see it's like, oh, there's a little bit right here too. It's like these are areas are cut off, and you've got Nagorno-Karabakh is going to be this area, I think, right
Yes.
around here. This has probably made some people's news cycles. Is this down here? Why? Because it's like you got a bunch of Armenians who still live in technically Azerbaijan, and you got a lot of Azerbaijanis who want them to get the hell out of there because they want to connect over here. Because hey, look, there's a little bit of Turkey right here, and if you can get oil pipelines through, you can start really getting a lot of money going over into the West.
And they do have a pipeline.
Oh yeah, they got
Correct.
pipelines. Yeah.
Yeah.
Let me
Big
see.
deal.
Baku. Yep. Here's Baku. Some of the oil fields that they've got. Turkmenistan's got a lot of natural gas. The gates of hell are in Turkmenistan. That's where that like just open pit of burning forever resides.
Don't they all also have to drive white cars in Turkmenistan and then have to take like the annual?
Oh,
Turkmenistan's government is one that is like the most bizarre in the world.
did we talk
Uh,
about Turkmenistan last time?
no, no,
No.
all these former Soviet countries though in Central Asia are, I think it's interesting, especially their design. Like after the collapse of the Soviet Union, they're like, none of you will have like everything you need, so you have to work together, and it just didn't work out.
Okay, can please let me go off on a tangent and talk about
Yes,
Ashgabat for a
before we
second?
do it, can we look at before we go, can we see those pipelines if you got it?
Oh yeah, where
Trying to
are these pipelines?
remember where that pipeline goes through, but I know that has a lot to do more so with like connecting Azerbaijan.
Yeah, okay, so here we go. This is
There it is.
I don't
Okay,
know.
it goes around Armenia. Or no, is it this one?
Yeah, it might be
Oil.
that. You got a lot over here in like Uzbekistan. This is why I think we were in Afghanistan for so long, is we wanted to build the TAPI, which is the Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, Pakistan to India pipeline, because if we could move oil through Afghanistan and use it like a waypoint, there's no oil itself in Afghanistan, but if you can get natural gas from here into India, India desperately needs energy. They just want energy so bad, and they don't have a
Yeah.
ton of it. China wants this stuff too, and so you're starting to see these pipelines go over here into China.
All the
And
Belt and
so
Road Initiative stuff.
I've been saying for ages, Russia wants this oil down here, China wants it from here, India wants it from over here, but has to get through two hostile countries to get to it. Iran wants to get access to it. Azerbaijan wants to pipe into it. I think World War III could very easily be fought over the oil fields of Central Asia.
Yeah, didn't Hitler get involved down here too? In the Caucasus Mountains? Wasn't that a just couldn't get there? Wasn't that
Y-
end goal for Russia though?
Yeah, I think they
Down in
wanted to get
here?
in through the Middle East as well and down into Iraq. But yeah, I think they wanted to get some pipelines here. You've got the Caucasus cuts a lot of that stuff off,
Yeah.
but you got a lot of Gazprom pipelines out in central Russia that used to get piped through Ukraine, but no longer. But yeah, let me
Yeah.
show you one of my favorite places in the world from a map perspective is Ashgabat. You zoom into this place and it is just so bizarre as a city. Like, did you guys ever play SimCity?
Long time ago.
Long time. Me too. It was a long time ago. Did you ever play it on like unlimited money mode?
No.
I did. And it's like, this looks just like when I had unlimited money mode, where it's just like residential housing. Ba, 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 ba. It's like high capacity road, park, park, park. And you just like, you start slamming this stuff down. And then here's the fascinating thing about Turkmenistan is you zoom into it and it's like, who's here? Nobody.
Exactly.
Nobody. It's like this is as busy as it gets.
Yes, here's the white cars. There are
And
no vehicles other than white in Turkmenistan
yeah, you look at
by
this
the
like
president's order.
giant building over here. Who's in the parking lot over here? Almost nobody. You even look back, this is the wild part of it. It's like this is all brand new stuff. You can go back in time to not that long ago. And it's like, what was here? A whole city was here. They just bulldozed this whole thing. And they're like, get the fuck out of the way. We're building a super palace here. A super palace for nobody. You look out even more, and it's like you get these like, all right, so this is my other favorite part of it is you look at their giant airport here, the super fancy airport, and then you go over here to the parking lot, and who's here? Nobody. It's just this, and even here's the greatest part is forget the guy's name, but it was the guy who took over before Gurban Guli Berdi Muhammadov. He was uh he was in charge back in the day. You had all these weird dictators. And look, this used to be the airport right here. This was designed by the guy. It was had some like crazy, semi-Russian Central European name, like Nursultan Nazarbayev or something. And it's like he is in charge of this place. He's the one who makes every car white, and he demands that he designs the airport tower. Well, what do you see from space here? Well, you've got the terminal right here, and then you've got the tower back here. Well, it's like the tower's not supposed to be back here. The tower's supposed to be up here so we can actually see the planes coming in. They couldn't even see the planes, so they had to have guys up here radio communicate to the guys in the tower to tell them when planes were coming in. Why? Because nobody wanted to tell this dictator we don't. That's a bad plan. But anyway, he died of a heart attack after he said no to the CIA for something. And
This
now we,
country, yeah, probably to allow us to fly into Afghanistan from there.
yeah, well, we wanted the oil. So that's the thing is, you've got this is redesigned. This is the modern day look of it now. They kept the tower in the same spot, but then they moved the whole terminal back to here. And then the new guy, Gurban Guli Berdi Muhammadov, redesigned this. And it's like, who do you have here? I mean, yeah, you got some cars, but for the most part, for an airport this big, you got nobody here.
Yeah, he does some other wild stuff. Like if there's foods he just personally does not like, I want to say it's pickles, but I cannot remember, but like banned for the entire country. And then I think every,
We should invade him just because of that. Anybody
I
doesn't
know.
like pickles. What the
There's
hell?
some things he does weird things with their diet. I can't remember if this is the highest point in Turkmenistan or not, but I think every citizen of the country has to climb it by foot to, and I think it's a giant statue of the president. Can you zoom in right here
Yeah, I'm
on that
curious. I don't,
landmark?
let's
Yeah,
see.
he makes every no. Zoom out. I think I can find it if we're looking at a map. It's got a big staircase to it, and then it should be a giant statue of somebody. Keep zooming out. It's almost like some North Korean type shit where it's like he comes from the tallest mountain or whatever, and that's
Oh,
the Holy
this
Land.
is like North Korea. They've got one. I can't remember
Yes.
the intersection here, but they had like a statue of the old guy on a horse that rotated with the sun, and he did some like they added months of the to the calendar, just like the Romans did, of just like, hey, we've got Augustus, well, let's have August. This guy added calendar months to his own glory.
Keep zooming out. Zoom
I
out
wonder
for
if
the whole country. I think I can find it.
I wonder if I just type in statue if it'll
Yeah, or
maybe this. Oh yeah, look, I think this is.
I don't know. Not to take us off. Maybe there's a giant ass staircase. Nobody's allowed to drive it. You have to walk it. I'm pretty sure it's a requirement. Once a year, you have to walk it. For all residents of um, God, what is the
uh
stand we're looking at?
Turkmenistan.
Yeah, Turkmenistan. Sorry,
Yeah. I
I
had some
did
stuff
a
I would love to do. If I was a dictator of a country, I would definitely make people climb stairs. Once a year, not too much, but you got to climb some stairs here for me.
I worked in college on this big multinational project for NASA with the Uzbeks. Um, they grow a lot of poppy in Uzbekistan.
Oh
Yeah, I
yeah.
wish I could find that point, but I used to have to map streets in Uzbekistan, and I'd be looking around like, that's a lot of poppy.
Yeah, Uzbekistan is a weird cat. They're for the
Yeah,
most part, I think they're fairly Sovietized. It's like you're going to get a lot of guys who are like big Russian bears who like drinking and fighting. But you get in the
and
Fergana Valley, which is over here, and it's like you do get some like pro Al Qaeda extremism in some of these areas.
and that lake right there, or all these waterways, that's these countries have almost gone to war with each other before because of water. It is a main topic in the Middle East. Water, 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 water,
Oh man, I wish I
water.
could
Let me see.
do. Yeah, let me
Do I still
elevate
have
the screen a
drawings
little
on your
bit.
screen?
If you look at that's how I look at Afghanistan, by the way, and how I look at like northern Afghanistan is really so you get it. Well, let me look at it like this. You get a big cross section of mountains that really like the mountains jut down like this and then jut back out like this. Like this is Afghanistan. And so you get mountains or you get rivers to the north, like the Amu Darya that flow off to the north. And these are going to be your Tajik people. And then you get rivers that flow down this way through these mountains. And these are going to be your Pashtun people. And then you get just kind of that middle, what I was talking about, that gets stuck. And that's the Hazara people in the middle. So you get mostly like Tajiks, Uzbeks in the north. I'm getting a little cluttered here, but you got the Pashtuns in the south. But that really, it's this dividing mountain range like this, where it's like the whole Central Asian countries are the foundations of the river valleys that flow out of the mountains. That's where you get all the water from. This is why it attracted horse soldiers. They have plains and grasses for these horse soldiers to feed their horses on, that they can really get this nomadic lifestyle in Central Asia.
I think that's crazy. What is that? I can't remember the name of the sea.
Oh, the Sea of Azov. No, it's not the Sea of Azov. What is it?
No, it's not
It's
the Ural. Is it the Ural or the Arial Sea? It'll
yeah,
tell
I
you
think
right
that's
here
it.
on
Yeah.
the. But that is one of the crazier things. A massive, massive lake
Oh yeah, it's all gone.
basically
You go back in
disappeared,
time.
and yeah, in what like 40 years it's gone.
Yeah, there's 1991. This thing is still pretty full at this point. And this is all fed by the Hindu Kush still. Like you get the Amudari, all these mountains here. This river goes all the way up over to here, and then you get drainage
Yeah,
over into
and I
this
want to
place here.
say the Tajiks dammed some of these rivers, and it caused a fucking shitstorm. But when the Soviet Union collapsed, the purpose of having these borders were to make these countries rely on each other. But instead, they all were like, "What's the best we can do?" and um, just drove competition.
Yeah. You get a lot of infighting, but I'd say like your Kyrgyz, your Tajiks, your Uzbeks, they can kind of work together. I think the Turkmens you can work with. Um, but yeah, you get, I would say it's like ethnically speaking, you're looking at much more like Turkish with Persian influence in the language and the like court structures. So you do get a lot of Persian influence in this area, but these are much more ethnically Turkic people. But yeah, when it goes back to Iran, it's like I could see even maybe Turkmenistan's trying to slice off a little bit of their own border here. I mean, who knows what's going to happen when the Persians are.
Yep. Let's go back to our Azerbaijan. I think the Azerbaijanis are going to get their little slice of the pie too. I think it's just going to be for more resources, but I think their military is gearing up for some type of incursion into Iran. I think, and the only reason why I think it's going to happen is just Trump saying the map of Iran is probably not going to look the same when we're done. So I want to say, where are the Kurds at here? And also, are the Kurds a are they Sunni or Shia? Forgive me,
Kurds
I'm
are
illiterate with
Sunni. Yeah, you're going to have Sunni Kurds. In fact, I believe you ever watch Kingdom of Heaven, that old movie?
negative.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you've got Saladin, Salahu ad-Din, that guy who plays the main Islamic guy. I believe his lineage would probably be the closest tied into the Kurdish people. So it's like you're looking at like Syria, I would say like sort of like Syrian, Turkic, but they've got a lot of Persian influence as well. But they're going to be Sunni Muslims. And I'll draw a quick. You got a little bit here. They actually go into like southern Azerbaijan, southern Turkey, northern Syria, and northern Iraq. And
Yeah.
this is kind of what the problem is that these guys were pretty loyal friends to us in Iraq. You look at they're not pro Saddam. They fought Saddam. In fact, Saddam gassed like 5,000 of them at Aleppo. So they didn't like Saddam at all. They really kind of liked us. I always heard guys say that they cleaned up their own trash, took care of their own neighborhoods. You didn't really worry about insurgency attacks too much in the Kurdish areas. But the problem is we give them weapons up here in northern Iraq, and we also gave them weapons in Syria to fight ISIS. But they don't get treated so well in Turkey. And so what do? They've got the PKK, which is their organization, and it's like, well, the Turks oppress us too. So
Yes.
what do? We go up and we bomb Ankara with these weapons, and it's like, whoa, we got a real serious problem here as Americans when we do that because the Turks are like, hey, NATO ally, United States, why are we getting blown up with American weapons in our capital city from these guys? And it's like, that's some egg on our face. And that is a legitimate beef, I think, from Turkey to say, we don't want to be blown
It
up by
is. And we're like,
Kurdish
we don't
weapons.
we don't support Peshmerga, we support the SDF. And it's like the Peshmerga guys killed it. Turkey will have like their SDF patches still on.
Yeah,
It's
well,
it's
and
it's a
if
mess.
we did abandon the Turks, that was actually a real big political thing back in the first Trump administration when he fired General Mattis, which is uh, General Mattis wanted to continue supporting the Kurds. I think Trump looked at Turkey and Ankara being a much more powerful relationship, much more important relationship, which I would agree with. Like if you're looking at when I go look over at NATO, Turkey is a very big deal in NATO geography because you want to contain the Russians to the Black Sea, and if they can get through the Bosphorus and the Dardanelles Straits, they can get access out to the Mediterranean, which they've lost in Syria. They had a Syrian naval base, Syria's fallen, and
Yeah.
it's like they're really bottled up in the Black Sea. They got a big problem in getting out. And so
Yeah, they got
Turkey's
to
a
go through Constant or what is it? What's it called
Is
now? Not Constantinople or
Istanbul.
Istanbul.
Istanbul. Istanbul, but it's not the capital of Turkey.
No,
Even
Istanbul just
Raqqa.
means the city. This was you had the Byzantine Empire, which was the majority of Turkey and a lot of Greece and a lot of other areas actually, even controlling down in the Levant. But yeah, it was Constantinople for years and years. But then the Turks started invading more, and I think it was like the 1400s. They finally took the Byzantine Empire was really just Istanbul at a certain or Constantinople at a certain point. But the Turks called it the city. They just called it the city, which is Istanbul. And then they took over. Now it's Istanbul, not Constantinople.
Yeah, we're east meets west. It's a big deal. That little choke point, that little canal that connects the Black Sea to the Med is a big deal.
Oh yeah.
John, can you
So we got to
pull up
keep,
the Sunni Shia overlay again one more time? I want to look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Iran.
Where'd I go?
I mean, I did see that
Oh,
same
no.
thing, Maynard, when Trump had said, the borders, the boundaries, or whatever, is not going to
yeah.
look the same. soon for Iran. So I want to look at the Sunni Shia disposition here.
Yeah, I know you've got Azerbaijanis are actually Shia Muslims, but I think that they don't align themselves with Iran more so from the fact that they get a lot of money through the United States. I think like you look at Azure oil supply, I think we're pretty good partners with them. I think economically they're more tied in with the West and they're more happy to be that way. And again, Shia, it's the same thing for the Sunnis. It's like this is a very broad umbrella that you're talking about. There's a lot of different Sunni groups, there's a lot of different Shia groups. It could be that the Azerbaijanis follow a different lineage of
Yeah,
secession.
yeah,
There's all sorts of different theories out there, but I just know that I don't think Azerbaijan is all that closely aligned with Iran. Armenia is much more closely aligned with Iran than Azerbaijan is because the
Mostly through
Armenians.
defense with Russia, mutual defense pact. Russian peacekeepers are still in Armenia, although it put them in a very awkward situation when they didn't do anything for Armenia during the last war with Azerbaijan. But Russia does keep peacekeepers here. Same with Georgia. Russia's very interested. Russia, of course, is interested in all of these regions for
Oh yeah, I mean,
economic interest in them. Azerbaijan used to also be a part of the Soviet Union, correct?
yeah, correct. So all the Caucasus countries,
Yeah.
Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Georgia, were all part of the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
And then that's when we moved missiles into Turkey, which bordered the Soviet Union at the time, which was a real big deal to them.
Put nukes in Turkey.
Yeah, I believe we put nukes in Turkey. That's what spawned the Cuban Missile Crisis. Is Russia was like, or the Soviets were like, screw you, you're putting these in Turkey. We're going to put them down in Cuba, and then both sides quietly kind of backed away from each of those.
And then what is this river? I'm sorry, it pertains to the region, though. The whole region is very interconnected. So all this is going on. What's the name of this river right here? Is it the Volga that connects the Caspian Sea? If you zoom
Well,
in on
yeah. So
Russia,
the Volga, yep,
is that the Volga?
yep. And so,
Yeah,
man, I could do a whole thing on
Russia's.
Russian terrain, but yeah,
But
the
this river
Russians,
here is important, very important. We
yes,
start to
it's
get
important because you look right here as you zoom in. What's this right here?
Leningrad.
Leningrad. Yep, it's called
Yeah,
Volgograd now, but
yeah, that's right. Doesn't have the same name.
this is what stopped the Germans cold here. They couldn't get across the river. The Russians know that rivers and geography are important, and they will fight wars because of it.
And that's how, I mean, if you're going to travel to some of these places in Russia, you have to do it through a river. There's some major highways that connect it, but it's a lot of river travel. When you get up in like the in Siberia and whatnot, it's kind of like Alaska. There's not roads, so it's either by air or by river, and they have to travel by river. So for
Yeah, I
them
think
to,
that's my understanding of a lot of early Russians are as it ties to Vikings. You get the Slavic kind of like Viking people from the north start taking the rivers down into these areas more further south. Yeah,
yeah.
you get major empires that come out of like Kiev, Moscow. Moscow really comes much later. It's really kind of not that old of a city in the grand scheme of things.
No, and I guess for our listeners, if they're like, why the fuck are you guys going everywhere? Just this region has been so interconnected for a while. Iran is just in a geographically interesting spot. A lot of people have wanted to influence Iran. We've wanted to influence Iran, and we had our influence on Iran for what? Nearly 30 years? When did we coup their democracy? In the 50s?
Oh,
Any
I
Yes,
mean,
around?
even earlier than that, I would say you looked at like historically, a lot of these Central Asian countries, it became kind of fashionable to have European military advisors. You would hire on these people, especially you're getting into like some pretty sophisticated stuff with cannons and artillery, and you just don't know how to do it in these areas. And so, what do all these rich shahs do? It's like, well, let's hire on military guys from Europe that know how to do this kind of stuff. And you get the British really moving into this area quite a bit and propping up guys who would control the governments and become pretty powerful themselves. You look at why is this border right here with Afghanistan? It's like, well, the British helped draw this in I think like 1895. I can't remember the exact date. It's like, well, why did they draw this border right here? Well, this is the Durand line from like the British drew in like the 18, I think 80s, somewhere around there. Well, why do you have this line up to the north? It's like, well, the British and the Russians drew this. And so a lot of these are really kind of fictitious lines in these areas that were drawn by the British I mean, Sykes-Picot was drawn by the British and French. That's Syria. That's Iraq. That's Jordan. You're carving up even Israel was a part of this. And yeah, you get some interesting consequences that come all these years later because of it.
Yeah, very much dealing with it right now.
But
A lot of
no,
this
it's
going on.
you look at like the Kurds. You've got a lot of different ethnic groups. You've got the Azeris up to the north. You've got the Kurds up to the northwest. But it's like if you're thinking about the Persian in Tehran who's celebrating the Ayatollah and his downfall, I can promise you that they will not look at the Kurds as a rescue force. Like I don't think this,
Liberator.
yeah, these are not liberators for them, and I think they'll be right when that's the case. So what does that
So,
kick off? I don't know, guys. Like things could get really
why?
bloody up there.
It's interesting though. This is going to be interesting to keep up with, see how it unfolds. I hope everything goes America's way. I do feel like we're a bit past the point of no return now. I think it happened in the first 1 minute of the war when we killed the Muslim Pope. That was like, shit, we're in it now. There is no turning back. I hope we don't half-ass this, and the next thing you know, Iran has a nuke and a ballistic missile, and they launch it at the United States because we didn't do a whole ass job of doing what we set out to do in Iran. So, see.
Everybody, thanks for tuning in to this episode. Joan, again, that was awesome. I learned a lot. I really like looking at the Sunni Shia maps and trying to figure. Anyways, I like that. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. See you on the next episode. The War Business Podcast is brought to you by Matthew Bruneman, Brendan Clark, and Dakota Maynard. Editing by Stephanie Maynard. The theme song is California Wind by Bruno E. The War Business Podcast cover art is the copyrighted property of the War Business Podcast. The book, War Business, The Hired Guns of Helmand Province, is copyrighted by Wargate Books. Wargate Books is not responsible or liable for any material or conversations produced and expressed by the War Business Podcast.